Hello, I'm so excited that you guys are here. Again, as you're joining, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. Feel free to type any questions that you have for me in the chat. And I'm just going to give you a little background, as we're starting off. I'm just implementing these live. So I want to be able to help you guys and give you guys the support that you need to help your child along their journey to healthy skin. And I just want to make sure that I can answer questions for as many folks as possible. I see some of you here that I am working with one-on-one. Some of you are in the online program, and I can talk a little bit about those a bit later on as well. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm going to introduce myself as well. But I really am so glad that you're here, and I can't wait to help you get the support you need, because when your child is struggling with rashes, you're struggling too. If you're like so many of my clients and so many of you here that I've talked with, you're afraid that your child is going to be forever miserable in their skin. You're constantly on edge waiting for the next severe flare-up. You're worried about skin infections and having to use antibiotics. And one of the questions that I have to answer today that came in from somebody who wasn't able to make it live is about just that. So I'm really excited to talk about that in more detail. Some of the other things I hear from so many of you is that you're concerned about your child's future and their skin symptoms and the scarring and discoloration that they might be experiencing. And, you're afraid that your child might be judged or bullied because of their visible rashes. You're worried that the rashes might stunt their social development and their self-esteem. One of the biggest concerns I hear from people is just the fear of food and having no idea what to feed your child because they seem to react to everything. And also, you're afraid that the prescription creams, the antihistamines, the other medications can cause more problems down the line. And you're really fed up that your doctor just doesn't have any other options for you. Nighttime is a nightmare. You're exhausted. Your child's exhausted. Everybody's up because your child is scratching all night. And maybe even your child has had to skip school because their symptoms are so severe. It impacts their focus, their ability to concentrate. I have so many clients that have shared with me that, once they send their kid to school, they get called by the teacher, the principal, that they can't focus. They're sitting there scratching and not getting any work done. So many of my clients also have started homeschooling their children because their skin is just so debilitating that they can't attend school. Your stress and anxiety are through the roof as a parent, and there's so much guilt, and you feel like something that you've done has maybe caused the problem, and at the same time you feel guilty that you haven't done enough to solve it. You're feeling lost and confused and overwhelmed. There's so much conflicting information online and that you get from your conventional and holistic practitioners. And I want to help you sift through that confusion and really give you the information that you need to help you get to the bottom of this for your child. The situation for so many families causes a massive strain on relationships with your partner, your family, your other children, your friends, even affecting your work life. And every moment of every day becomes consumed with what's happening with your child's skin. And often your hope for healthy skin and a better future for your child really seems impossible. It takes so much energy to care for children in general. And then when your child is struggling with a chronic health issue like chronic skin rashes, it takes even more energy. And, if this resonates with any of you, please just give me a me in the chat. I like interaction, so feel free to comment, say me, say hi. If anything's resonating with you, please let me know. If there's other things that you're feeling too, please let me know. I want to be able to address those things and support you. And I really am so glad that you're here. And if you're not catching this live, I'm so glad that you're here listening to this. And I really do want you to know that you don't have to feel these things. You don't have to do this alone, and you can get the support that you need. And here's a great place to start, to really help you get to the bottom of this for your child and get them and you the relief that you're searching for. And I want you to imagine a future where your child is feeling good in their skin, where you can stop worrying if another flare is around the corner. You can stop worrying about skin infections and antibiotics. These are going to be a blip in your child's history. I want you to feel confident and imagine feeling confident about your child's future, that they're not going to be judged or bullied. feel confident expanding your child's diet and feeding your child a wide variety of foods without it appearing on their skin. Imagine no more diet restrictions, no more medications to just manage symptoms, because really that's all that they do. We can get to the root cause of this. Imagine sleeping through the night, restful sleep for everyone. Imagine your child attending school and their ability to focus and concentrate and learn, and wearing shorts and t-shirts and skirts in the summer. The weather's warming up, so I know this is huge right now, especially this time of year. And imagine that you can stop playing Dr. Google and getting lost down all these internet rabbit holes. No more stress, no more anxiety, no more feeling judged, no more guilt. Your child and your family can be free from this cage that your child's chronic rashes have kept you in, and your child can thrive. And I want you to imagine this. And even if you're too afraid to imagine this because you've been let down so many times before, I really want you to imagine it and feel it, because it is possible for your child and your family. So imagine it, and if you can imagine it, drop a yes. Drop a yes in the comments, because this really is possible. And I'm here to help you and hold your hand through this. And in case you don't know me, I see a lot of you do know me, but I see some of you whose names I don't recognize, and I apologize if I do know you. Sometimes the handles are different, right? But in case you don't know me, I have dedicated my work to helping families just like yours. I'm a clinical nutritionist, and I help children with chronic skin rashes navigate the journey to healthy skin so they can enjoy a childhood free from disruptive skin symptoms. I've helped hundreds of families get to the root cause of the problem so that their children can expand their diets and sleep better and feel good in their skin and regain normalcy. And my passion for doing this work really comes from my own health challenges, which I know some of you who've been around here for a while are familiar with some of them. There are a number of them, but a lot of this comes from my feeling different and judged and helpless and not having my hand held through this the way that I needed it, that I still need it. And just going through this and wishing that I had the kind of support that I'm here to provide to you. So I really do. It's really important to me that when you're here on this journey and allowing me to be part of your child and family's health journey, that I hold your hand and give you that support, because from my own experience and from the experience I've heard from so many of you and so many parents out there, it's a huge piece of the puzzle that's missing, is having that support and the guidance and somebody to hold your hand on this journey, because it is not an easy journey to be on. And I have also had family members that struggle with eczema, psoriasis, and vitiligo. And I am the top pediatric referral resource out there of all the nutrition experts. And my referrals come from functional practitioners and naturopaths, other nutrition professionals, medical doctors, clinics from around the world. I work only with children, and only with children with chronic skin rashes. My work and I have been widely recognized on a variety of podcast interviews, and maybe you've heard one of my many episodes on the Healthy Skin Show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jennifer Fugo. I think a lot of you probably are. She's a clinical nutritionist and adult skin rash expert, and the host of the Healthy Skin Show, and she sends all of her child referrals to me. I've got a bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics, a master's in public health, a master's in nutritional biochemistry. I'm a certified nutritional specialist and a licensed dietitian nutritionist. So my life, my schooling has always been dedicated to nutrition, and that over the years has morphed into specifically helping children with chronic skin rashes. So now, with all that said, let's dive into some questions. I see we have one here. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but the first one that I do want to answer is the one that came in, and I have a few of these. So I want to answer a few of the questions that came in from folks who couldn't make it live, so I can tell them when they check out the video later to it's in the front. So Gut Healing Ninja. Hi, I will get to your question absolutely in just a second. Everybody else, if you have some questions, please type those in. So the first question that came in, and I alluded to this a little bit, earlier when I was talking about or mentioned the antibiotics and skin infections. So the question is how to deal with staph overgrowth on the eczema areas. And does using antibiotic ointment disturb the skin microbiome and make things initially better, only to flare again? This is what's happening to her son. They use colloidal silver, but it doesn't seem to help. Diluted vinegar or Briotech seems to make him itchy. And how often can one do a course of antibiotic ointment? She hears people saying that using it too often, it becomes ineffective. So this is a nuanced and really good question. So number one, I want to say, if your child has a skin infection or if you suspect that they do, my take on that is do not try to do it yourself and DIY skin infections. When there is a topical infection, especially on broken skin, there is a much greater risk for infection. The broken skin, the infection can pretty easily enter the bloodstream and result in sepsis, which can become life-threatening. So this is where it is super important. If you suspect an infection, please, please, please do not DIY it. Go to your doctor. Signs of a skin infection can be more overt. Like, for example, if the rashes are weepy, in particular, if they're weepy and sort of like yellow and pussy, very crusty, that can be a skin infection. One of the other signs I've seen too, and this is really interesting. So I don't want to say like eczema typically presents as XYZ because everybody is so different. And so there isn't like a typical. However, if I had to say typical, so what I see most often, and we're talking about eczema in particular right now, but what I see most often with eczema is that there are periods of flaring, and then it seems to clear up, and then it seems to flare again, and then it seems to clear up. So where I have seen skin infections where you might not particularly expect it, so again, of course, if it's like overtly weepy and you see like pussy yellow weeping, definitely get that checked out with your doctor. If it doesn't seem to have any reprieve, so again, it seems to cycle in most cases. So if it's chronic and doesn't seem to be going away like at all, that could also be the sign of an infection. I had one client a while back who, little boy, was a baby, and his cheeks it was like 6 months straight. Nothing was changing. They weren't particularly weepy, but they just raw, very rashy, and very troublesome. And so they finally went to their pediatrician, and I don't recall if they referred to a derm, but anyway, they cultured it. It turned out to be MRSA. So you got to get these things checked out. So again, if it's like weepy, in particular, like the pussy not going away, and or chronic and just like absolutely no reprieve, those can be signs of an infection. So definitely go get that checked out. And when it comes to antibiotics, if your doctor prescribes them, go ahead and use them. This is something else that I like to let people know. I certainly talk to my clients about this in detail, is that antibiotics, again, if there's a topical infection on a broken skin barrier, that infection can pretty easily enter the bloodstream and result in sepsis, which can be life-threatening. Please do not be afraid of antibiotics when they are absolutely necessary. This is exactly what they're there for. And like this question that came in, the colloidal silver doesn't seem to be helping much. They are using some antibiotic ointment. So in terms of how often to use it, that's tricky. I would say follow your doctor's recommendations. I really haven't seen a course of antibiotics, whether they are used topically, orally, internally. I know there's a lot of fear around using antibiotics and that they're going to destroy our microbiomes and cause more problems over time. Now, that potentially can be the case. However, I really have not seen a course like topically, internally, what have you, really destroy things at all. This comes from like, for example, in my clinical practice with my clients, one of the primary pieces of data that we need to get is a comprehensive digestive stool test so we can see what's happening in the gut. We can talk more about that in a little bit if you guys aren't familiar with why that's important, but gut health is intimately tied to skin health, and we cannot have healthy skin without a healthy gut. If there's something happening on the skin, that means there's something happening in the gut as well. So based on testing with a lot of clients, like we've done the stool test, the child has had to take antibiotics for any variety of reasons. And, we retest later, and I really have not seen the antibiotics tank things that are happening in the gut. At the same time, I also have not seen them completely destroy the skin barrier. In fact, if there are infections, whether they are topically, topical, if your child has ear infections or, whatever it is, antibiotics can be necessary to get rid of the infection. These infections can cause a lot more problems later. As miserable and uncomfortable and horrible as chronic skin rashes like eczema are, they typically are not life-threatening unless we end up with an infection or something like that. So often the body just needs a little help to get over the hump, and antibiotics can be very safe and effective for that. So how to deal with staph overgrowth on the eczema areas. So number one, again, don't be afraid to use the antibiotics. I have not seen them totally destroy or disrupt what's happening topically on the skin. Really, in order to prevent the staph from overgrowing on the skin, there are a few strategies. I mean, number one, getting to the root cause of the problem is really going to be the bottom line. And that's what I help my clients do. And, whether we work together one-on-one or my online program or what have you, I'll talk about some of those things at the end of this video as well, and just kind of give you guys an idea of some of the resources that I have. And in the meantime, I'll just say too, link in my bio here on Instagram. I have a ton of different things in there. Free resources, all about the services, things like that. But anyway, so number one, you do want to get to the root cause of the problem. And in the meantime, in terms of managing symptoms, keep the skin clean. And, a lot of people, everybody's different, right? And so if your child does seem to have a higher incidence of topical infections, bathing more can actually be helpful. I know a lot of folks end up bathing less because the skin is dry, the skin is irritated, and so we're led to believe that less bathing is actually better. However, if there's stuff that's growing on the skin that shouldn't be there, bathing more often and keeping it clean can actually be really helpful. So that might be something to check out depending on how often you're bathing your child. More bathing and actually using like a cleanser of some sort. We can get into all kinds of things with this. When we're talking about cleansers, natural isn't necessarily better. One of my go-tos, I use this personally. If I start using anything else for a period of time, like more than a few days, I start to get hives. I have sensitive skin. But Dove soap, Dove Sensitive is really my go-to for folks. So keeping the skin clean, from the outside, that can help with skin infections. And then the other thing too, the person who asked this question, the Briotech spray makes the skin itchy. Another thing, and the colloidal silver, you said didn't help either. So here's something to consider also. She mentioned staph overgrowth, like specifically. If you have a diagnosis that it's been swabbed and it's staph, then yes, something like the Briotech, colloidal silver, certain things that are antibacterial can really help topically. If you're suspecting infection and you're trying these things and you haven't had it swabbed and you don't know what it is, it's possible that it could be fungal. And if it is something fungal, then something that's antibacterial isn't going to solve the problem. So that would be something to explore too. If it is fungal, something like zinc could be helpful. And I see a question here, is zinc powder safe for open wounds? You can use zinc topically, yes. The thing with zinc is that it can be drying, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because the other thing you want to think about too, when we have this overgrowth, like if something topical is overgrown on the skin, even if the skin is really dry, there still can be like some sort of bacterial fungal overgrowth. If that's happening, and you keep moisturizing and keep the skin like wet, that stuff grows in moist environments. So it might actually be exacerbating the problem. And so this is where everybody's different, right? So if your child is struggling with skin infections or you suspect them, again, go to the doctor, ask them to swab it. Here's a strategy as well. A lot of doctors will not want to bother with that. So what you can do is when you go see your doctor, ask them to check, swab for topical bacterial or fungal infections or overgrowth. And if they decline, just ask them respectfully, of course, but ask them to document in the medical record that they refuse to do it. Sometimes that'll encourage them too. So get it checked out to see if in fact there is an infection topically. And if there is, that can give us some information as to what to use. Like if it is bacterial, then yeah, something like the colloidal silver or the Briotech can help. If your doctor recommends an antibiotic, use it. It can help knock it out to then move forward and really, work to heal the skin. If there's a topical infection, like that's a not pass go situation. You've got to address that for the skin to heal. If it happens to be fungal, something like apple cider vinegar baths, or you can even put like apple cider vinegar and dilute it with water. Make sure it's diluted. Dilute it with water and put it in like a spray bottle, and you can squirt that throughout the day. Zinc can be really helpful for rashes in general, and certainly for fungal stuff. Zinc powder, you can try that. Yes, you can try it on open wounds. You might want to mix it though with like a little bit of moisturizer, since it can be kind of drying, and just so it spreads. You might even want to put on like whatever moisturizer you're using and sprinkle a little of the zinc on and then massage it in and leave it on. Let's see, what else can be good for that? And again, just, if you're bathing less, try bathing more. If you're bathing more, try bathing less, so you can kind of mix it up and just see different strategies and see what works best for your child, because everybody is so different. These are some of the things that we go through. Like if we're working one-on-one together, we troubleshoot, and I can give you more clear direction as to which one of these strategies or which ones of these strategies to try. The other thing, there was one more thing I wanted to mention topically. Oh, regardless if it's bacterial or staph, or bacterial like staph or fungal, one of my absolute favorite strategies for helping with the skin microbiome, because this is what, a piece of the puzzle is that we have these imbalances on the skin microbiome, which contributes to skin barrier dysfunction, leaky skin, broken skin, and exacerbation of rashes. So one of my favorite strategies to support the skin microbiome, and if you guys have been around for a little bit, maybe you've heard me talk about Megaspore Biotic. It's my go-to probiotic to use internally. So we talk about that too. We'll see how much time we have. So many things to talk about. But so Megaspore Biotic is my go-to probiotic. With that, by the way, there's some links in my bio with Megaspore Biotic. There's so you can get it, and then about dosing for it. You can use it topically, so check out those links as well. But so if your child is struggling, topically with their skin, you want to try something topically, you can open a capsule of the Megaspore, mix it with your favorite moisturizer, and apply it to the skin, and just massage it in and leave it on. I don't have a ratio because, surface area is different for everybody, but just like a pinch. If you use too much, it's going to start to feel gritty. But so Megaspore Biotic can be really helpful topically as well. Okay, I think I answered that question in detail. There was another one that came in. So we talked about the zinc powder, and yes, it is safe to use on open wounds as well. So I hope that was helpful there. And then, do you have any thoughts on Episerum? Episerum, yes, it's helpful. It can be helpful for a lot of people that have chronic skin rashes. I've had clients use it, and that is a good one. When we are talking about what to use topically too, I can get into this a bit since I think this live is going to be focused mostly on topical things. So when we're talking about what's happening topically, I lean towards not using natural things topically and going for some of these more commercial products. That is because when we're talking about what's going on the skin. Now, depending on the age of your child, things like food-based products, essential oils, all of these natural things that are in these natural products that generally can be healthy and helpful for most people. However, when we have a broken skin barrier, that allows things to enter the bloodstream very easily. If your child has food allergies, so if your child has nut allergies, and you're using something that has almond oil in it, or whatever kind of, seed oils, nut oils, what have you, that can actually cause an allergic reaction, broken skin barrier, things get into the bloodstream. If your child does not have allergies yet, so like let's say your child hasn't even started eating solids, they've got rashes, and you're putting stuff on topically, and they haven't been introduced to the top allergens or foods in general, there is a much greater risk for getting sensitized to allergens through a broken skin barrier, which can then later result in clinical allergies. So getting sensitized to allergens through the skin is a major route and a primary mechanism for the development of allergies, both food and environmental. So if your child is already tolerating those foods, so let's say your child's eating solids, they don't have food allergies, they're eating nuts, seeds, what have you, I'm not as concerned about putting that stuff on the skin. It's just, I would still caution against it, but I wouldn't worry about it as much as if your child has not eaten those foods yet. With essential oils, a lot of those things can be allergens, like chamomile, lavender, those are in a lot of topical products. Those are actually major allergens. Essential oils also are antimicrobial, they can burn, and they can disrupt the skin barrier as well. So when we're talking about what to use topically, I really do recommend some of those commercial products that are not so natural. And is anything ideal to use on the skin topically? Maybe, maybe not, right? Everybody's different. So even though it's natural, it's not better. There's lots of cautions with that. I do find the commercial over-the-counter stuff it works better, less risk for developing allergies. And so Episerum, for example, is a good one. Products that are marketed for sensitive skin can be really helpful. And I would say also, it's important that they're pH balanced for the skin as well. So a lot of the commercial products that are marketed for sensitive skin are pH balanced for the skin, because the skin is slightly acidic in nature. And that is important to maintain that acidity on the skin, because when we don't have that acidity on the skin, we can start to get more skin barrier dysfunction and a breakdown of what's happening on the skin. Something else that can be really helpful to support the broken skin barrier and skin barrier dysfunction, I don't know if you guys are familiar with filaggrin. It's something that I talk about on here. I've talked about it. I think I mentioned it last week as well. So when we have the skin barrier dysfunction, we absolutely have internal imbalances that we've got to resolve to really get to the root cause of the problem and heal up what's happening topically. But that said, we can also support the skin barrier. So, we need to do the outside in and inside out. But so when we're talking about we've talked a lot about the outside in and, what to use topically. Now from the inside out, something that we can do to support the skin barrier in particular, this filaggrin protein. So, back to this question that came in about the staph overgrowth on the skin. Now, filaggrin is a protein in the skin. It's responsible for building and maintaining the skin barrier, for having the skin's ability to make its own natural moisturizing factors. So when the skin is really dry, I do think about this filaggrin and that it might be low. Now, filaggrin, there's a gene that makes it, the FLG gene. There can be mutations in this gene. People that have eczema do tend to there's a higher incidence of people that have a mutation in the FLG gene when they have eczema compared to people that don't have eczema. But that said, whether or not there's a mutation in that gene, just having the skin rashes, having the inflammation, staph overgrowth on the skin, all of these things lower that filaggrin protein with or without that mutation in that gene. So we can support filaggrin with histidine, which is an amino acid. So histidine, not histamine, histidine is a single amino acid. It is in protein-rich foods. So make sure your child is getting a lot of protein in their diet. That's something I recommend from a dietary perspective for other reasons as well. Protein is king for healing the body, for healing the skin. Kids need more of it pound for pound compared to adults because their bodies are doing so much, growing, developing, healing. That takes a lot of fuel. And so we need protein. Make sure protein's getting in the diet. And I would say from that histidine perspective, just protein-rich foods. Animal proteins are better, they have better absorbability, more efficacy. The body can use them more effectively compared to plant proteins. It's harder to get all your protein needs met from plants, but just make sure protein-rich foods are getting in. There are histidine supplements. I do use these in my practice. I do talk about filaggrin, histidine, and the supplements and dosing and recommendations in Conquer Your Child's Rashes Online, which is my online course. And you can learn more about that link in my bio, and it's the CYCR online course. That goes into detail about all the stuff that I've talked about so far today, and more strategies to address what's happening internally as well as externally. Okay, now let me take a look. Some other questions came in here, and I hope this is helpful. If you guys have follow-up questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat. I've got probably about like 10 more minutes to hang on today. So, okay, my child's skin on the back of her legs are constantly itchy with no reprieve. Does that mean it could be infected? It doesn't look infected. You know, if you haven't had it checked out, it can't hurt to get it checked out to see if it's infected. It's very possible. The other thing too, and if you can type in there, if it's itchy and rashy at the same time, and it just doesn't go away, I would get it checked out for sure. And it's interesting too. So the back of the legs, like behind the knees there, it's a very common spot where children get these flares. It could be bacterial. It's possible that it's fungal. I'm not sure what you've tried topically, but some strategies that might help you determine, if it is one or the other. If you haven't tried like a zinc cream, like you can even try a diaper rash cream, like that has antifungal properties. So you can try that and see if that helps. If that doesn't help, you can also try, something like the Briotech spray or even Gladskin. Those are antibacterial. So you could try, one or the other, and that might give you some clues to see if it might be if it might be bacterial, it might be fungal. But if it has not gone away and there's like no reprieve and the rashes just won't go away, I think it would be worth just seeing if you can get it swabbed to check it out. The other thing too, sometimes if it's not, it's very possible too, and I see this in a lot of folks, I'm not sure if this is what's happening with your child, but I'll mention this too in case it's helpful, is that often, especially with my clients that, have gone through the online course or that I'm working with one-on-one, the skin starts to clear up. So the skin starts to look good, but sometimes that itch can remain. So the itch that comes along with the rashes isn't always associated with something like histamine or, the actual like rash itself. It can be, but the inflammation on the skin and the inflammation, because we got, different layers of the skin, but this inflammation that's coming from inside the body that like bubbles its way up into the skin, that inflammation can cause itching as well. So it's possible that it could be something topically bacterial, something fungal. It could be the internal inflammation. So you can try some of these different strategies. And again, those bath options, I'm not sure if you've tried those, but like apple cider vinegar baths and or the spray might be helpful too. And those tend to work better if it's fungal. I also have, this is probably more information than you'll find in this resource, but I do have a free guide if you haven't gotten it yet, link in my bio. It's called Ditch the Itch. And that talks a lot about topical things. We're talking a lot about this today. So Ditch the Itch might be helpful for those of you that don't have that resource yet. And then also my online course, Conquer Your Child's Rashes Online. The first module is called Ditch the Itch. And it goes into more detail about what's happening topically and strategies that you can use to help. And so I hope that's helpful. I hope that answered your question there. Okay, let's see. Can I use histidine for a 6-month-old? Yes, you can. I do that in my practice, and for dosing, I would have you reference my course, the Conquer Your Child's Rashes Online. There are dosing recommendations in there for supplements for histidine. I'll tell you about the course. A little background there. So the course has 5 modules. It's my step-by-step proprietary process that I use in my practice for getting to the root cause of what's happening with your child's skin. So with the course, you get my roadmap, and within each of those modules, so it's the Ditch the Itch, which is the topical stuff, Nourish. So we talk about making sure your child body has all the fuel it needs to do everything it's supposed to do. Which is why I don't recommend elimination diets. It's a good thing, by the way. I'm planning on doing these lives for the next 3 weeks in a row, same place, same time. So we'll dive deeper into all these things too. But so we've got the Nourish, we've got Immune, where we talk about lowering inflammation in the body because inflammation is an underlying driver of what's happening on your child's skin. We talk about detoxification and appropriate detoxification for children. That's a big one because there's so much information out there that is really inappropriate for children and can be downright dangerous. So what detoxification means and how to do it with your child and what to look out for. And then of course we talk about the gut and what a real gut healing plan looks like and all that's involved there. Within each of these modules, long story short, is that there are supplements along with dosing, whether your child is, 0 to 6 months all the way up. So I have the different categories broken down for the dosing. So yes, you can use histidine for a 6-month-old, and then for dosing, I would reference the program. I hope that helps. Is it good to supplement with histidine when there are allergies involved, like pollen, when there is a problem with too much histamine? Excellent question. No. It's possible that histidine can get converted to histamine in the body. I really have not seen histidine cause that problem. I did read some research a while back, and it was kind of like a cursory thing that I caught, and so I need to look this up in more detail so I can provide the exact research on this. But it was to the effect of there's almost like a feedback mechanism, so it's not like histidine is going to create more histamine. It was almost like it actually prevented the excess production of histamine. So they're very different. Histidine, histamine, different, like sort of related in some biochemical processes, but a histidine supplement is not going to make histamine issues worse. Very good question, and thank you for asking that. Here's another question. My 7-year-old daughter is having an oral introduction of cashew after having a reaction to it. Should I be concerned of an eczema flare-up after the test? That's a good question. So it's possible. Now, with food allergies, so the issue with food allergies and with these introductions, the introductions are important, and I think that those are a priority. As I mentioned in the beginning, we were talking about skin infections and things like that, and how, it's horrible, and eczema is horrible. It is. Skin flares are awful. They're not necessarily life-threatening. Allergies can become life-threatening. So if your physician is doing the oral food challenges with you, I absolutely recommend doing that because this is about overall lifelong safety for your child. I know a lot of parents are afraid to do the food introductions. Do the food introductions. What happens when there are allergies is that they create inflammation, right? So the allergy creates inflammation. That inflammation then triggers what's happening on the skin, because something like eczema in particular is inflammatory. It's an inflammatory condition. So it's the inflammation that's flaring the rashes. So some things that you can do, and this is something that I work with my clients on when we're working one-on-one, is that, during the periods of the introductions, like things that you can do to increase antioxidant status in the body might be helpful. Like antioxidants. So inflammation happens when we have oxidative stress. We get oxidative stress when we don't have enough antioxidant nutrients to combat it. So things that, like, again, the allergies, the introductions, food intros, those things can cause some of that inflammation. So to combat all of that, we want to make sure that there's enough antioxidants. And when we have so much inflammation happening, when we have like allergies and eczema, the body like burns through them really quickly because it's using them up. So include antioxidant nutrients in the diet. So fruits and veggies, rainbow assortment, different colors. They say eat the rainbow. The reason, all of those different pigments, those different colors, they're different phytochemicals. And all of these different phytochemicals have like different types of antioxidant properties. So make sure that the diet is rich in antioxidants. You could always try like add some vitamin C. Make sure that in terms of detoxification, like things are getting out, right? Like drink enough water, make sure your child's having a bowel movement every day, and, make sure those antioxidant nutrients are getting in. I talk a lot about the immune system, inflammation, and how to combat that. Conquer Your Child's Rashes online, my online course. The third module is about inflammation. It's called Immune, but it's about inflammation and strategies to help lower that. And again, link through my bio, you can learn more about that. I hope that's helpful. The other thing too, talk to your doctor about, of course, let them know that you're concerned about the rashes and the flares. Sometimes they can, help stage things or maybe do it more slowly. And the other thing too, if something like an antihistamine, like a Zyrtec or a Claritin helps, use it. That's what it's there for. If something like a quercetin or like a Zyrtec is helpful, that indicates that there is a histamine component. There's not always a histamine component to the itch, but with allergies there is. So if those things are helpful, use them. And if they are, there's also quercetin supplements, which it's a natural antihistamine. So that's something that might be helpful. There's also dosing for that, for different ages in the online program in both the Ditch the Itch module and the Immune module. And then quercetin is also found in a variety of fruits and vegetables. So get those antioxidant nutrients in, because quercetin is one of them, and it's found in a variety of fruits and veggies. Like off the top of my head, I'm thinking like broccoli, grapes have a lot of quercetin, but check out quercetin. You can even like do a little search for quercetin rich foods too. So a good place to start is making sure that those antioxidant nutrients are getting in through the diet. I hope that helps. All right. I think I'm going to stop there. Gosh, it's been like 45 minutes. Thank you guys for being here. This has been awesome. So a few things. I think I got to, yes. Okay. So I think I answered all the questions, and some of you who, asked questions who weren't able to attend live, I'm just kind of like looking at my notes. I answered them within the conversation that we've had today. It's kind of jumped all over. So I hope this was helpful. And just so you guys know, remember, check the link through my bio. I've got all kinds of resources. I've got a number of freebies there that you can take advantage of. I do have, again, the online course. So there's a link to that. Just check it out, see what's included. You can get a sense of the different modules, see what people who have taken the course have to say about it, frequently asked questions. There's also some links there about like working with me privately, what that looks like. we can talk about testing next time. I have so many things that I want to share with you guys. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there for today. So let me see. Link in bio, check out the resources, see if those are helpful. If you guys have questions, really always feel free to DM me also. Like, I really am happy to help. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, this journey, you can feel just so alone and confused and overwhelmed, and I'm here to help you. Like, going through my own health crises over the many years that I've been on this planet. I've had a lot of stuff, and I know what it feels like to feel alone and helpless and unsupported, and it sucks and it's scary, and nobody should have to feel that way. And so if I can help you not feel that way, that's really what I want to do. So I really am here to help. So always feel free to send me a message, and I'll answer whatever questions I can. If I'm not working with you privately, I don't have details of your case, but I'll give you as much information as I can with the information that I have. Let's see. Again, link in bio, lots of resources. If you're not, I have a newsletter too, so you can always join that. Let's see. So that way you get stuff delivered to your inbox every week with tips and tricks and things that I have to offer to help you guys. And I am doing this again next week. So again, same time. So 10 a.m. Pacific, that's June 17th. And let's see, I'm sending out reminders of that. I'll pop in and do a reminder in my story next week too, beforehand. And then with my newsletter, so the reminder goes out there as well. And I think that's it. I have so much more I want to share, but I'll stop now. I'll save things for next week. So if you guys have questions that you want me to address here for next time, DM me and I'll put them on the list and we'll talk about it then. So happy Monday. I hope you guys' weeks are off to a good start. Again, I hope this is really helpful, and I'll see you next week. Bye.